Sign these papers. The stack of documents landed on my desk with a sharp thud, making my coffee cup tremble. My mother-in-law stood before me, her expression as cold and condescending as ever, a look I'd grown used to over the past 5 years. I'm Amanda Chen, 35 years old, founder and CEO of one of the most successful tech consulting firms in the city. Well, at least I was, until my in-laws decided they wanted to take it from me. I glanced at the papers, my pulse quickening. Stay calm. What are these? Transfer of ownership, Margaret said crisply. It's time you handed the company over to Richard. He has an MBA, you know, he actually understands how to run a business properly. Richard, my brother-in-law, the golden child who had never worked a single day in his life but somehow believed he was entitled to everything. I shifted my gaze to my husband, Tom. He stood in the corner, silent, always silent, 12 years of marriage, and he still couldn't stand up to his mother. I exhaled slowly. This is my company. I built it from the ground up. Margaret let out a sharp, derisive laugh. Oh, please, everyone knows your grandfather gave you the seed money. You just got lucky, and besides, in this family, the men handle the business decisions. I clenched my jaw. My grandfather, he had passed away 6 months ago, but he wasn't just my grandfather, he was my mentor, my inspiration. Yes, he had helped me, but not in the way Margaret assumed. I won't be signing anything, I said, my voice steady. Margaret smoothed her designer blazer, her manicured nails tapping impatiently against my desk. You ungrateful little, do you have any idea how much we've done for you? We welcomed you into our family despite your background. The least you could do is show some appreciation. Background, a pointed reminder that I wasn't one of them, that I was half Chinese, middle class, an outsider in their elite social circle. Mom, Tom finally muttered, his voice hesitant, maybe we should discuss this at home. No, Thomas, Margaret's tone was sharp, I've had enough of your wife's arrogance. Either she signs, or what? I challenged. Her lips curled into a smirk, or we make sure everyone knows the truth, about how you really got your start, the money from your grandfather, the connections we provided. Do you honestly think your biggest clients found you on their own? They're our friends. I almost laughed, if only they knew. Before I could respond, my office phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen, Mr. Harrison is here. He says it's urgent. Perfect timing. Send him in. The door opened, and in walked James Harrison, my grandfather's lawyer. His leather briefcase was tucked neatly under his arm, his expression unreadable. Mrs. Chen, he said, I apologize for the interruption, but it's time. Margaret's eyes narrowed. Time for what? The reading of Gerald Chen's final will and testament, the real one. Tom stiffened. What do you mean, the real one? I stood, smoothing my skirt. You see, the will that was read 6 months ago wasn't complete. My grandfather had a second will, sealed until today, exactly 6 months after his passing. Mr. Harrison placed a thick envelope on my desk. Shall we begin? Margaret's confidence faltered. This is ridiculous. We're in the middle of a business discussion. Oh, you'll want to hear this, I said, allowing myself a small smile. It's about the business, after all. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat and began reading. I, Gerald Chen, being of sound mind, declare this to be my final will and testament, superseding all previous versions. Margaret scoffed. We've already heard this part. Get to the point. Harrison ignored her. However, the following provisions were to remain sealed for 6 months after my death, to allow certain events to unfold naturally. I watched as Tom shifted uncomfortably by the window, his fingers twitching. He knew something. To my granddaughter, Amanda Chen, I leave not only my personal fortune, as previously stated, but also reveal the following. Chen Global Holdings, currently believed to be owned by the Chen family, has, in fact, been under my majority ownership for the past 20 years. Silence. Margaret's face drained of color. That's impossible. My husband built that company. Actually, Margaret, I said, my voice calm but firm, your husband nearly bankrupted it in 2003. My grandfather stepped in and bought 67% of the shares, saving it from collapse. He kept it quiet, to protect your family's reputation. You're lying, she hissed. Mr. Harrison pulled out another document. And I knew, the storm that was about to hit the Chen family had only just begun. I have the original purchase agreements here, along with 20 years of board meeting minutes. Tom finally found his voice. Dad told me something about this last year, he admitted. He made me promise not to tell anyone. I turned to him, a sharp ache blooming in my chest. You knew? I didn't know everything, just that there was some kind of deal with your grandfather. Mr. Harrison continued, his voice steady. Furthermore, all clients currently associated with Chin Global Holdings were originally contacted and secured through my personal business network, not through the Chin family, as they have claimed. Margaret sank into a chair, her designer blazer wrinkled, and her perfect hair, usually immaculate, had started to come undone. The final revelation, Mr. Harrison went on, concerns the tech consulting firm owned by my granddaughter, Amanda. While I provided guidance, I never gave her seed money. She built it entirely on her own, securing loans, pitching investors, and earning every client through sheer determination and skill. The room was silent. I thought back to those early days, the sleepless nights, the rejected applications, the relentless grind. My grandfather had insisted I do it on my own, always telling me, true respect comes from what you build yourself. However, Mr. Harrison continued, I did arrange for her firm to be fairly considered by several major clients, the same clients the Chin family has been taking credit for providing. I wanted to see if she could maintain and grow those relationships on her own merit. The results speak for themselves. The door flew open. Richard stormed in, his face red with anger. This is ridiculous. You can't just walk in here and claim our family company. I met his glare with unwavering calm. The ownership documents prove everything. Your father has known the truth for 20 years. Richard shook his head violently. Dad would never. He signed the papers himself. Mr. Harrison interjected, pulling out another set of documents. In fact, he left additional instructions to be revealed today. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a sealed envelope. This letter is from Howard Chen, written 3 months ago. Margaret's head snapped up. Howard wrote a letter. Mr. Harrison nodded and unfolded the pages. To my family. If you are hearing this, it means Gerald's will has been revealed. Everything he said is true. I made terrible business decisions 20 years ago, and he saved not just our company but our family's reputation. In return, I promised to keep his majority ownership secret and to watch over his granddaughter when she married my son. I felt Tom shift beside me, his face pale. Dad never said. Mr. Harrison continued. I've watched Amanda build her business from nothing while my family treated her as an outsider. I saw what Gerald saw, a brilliant businesswoman who earned every bit of her success. I was too much of a coward to stand up to my wife's and son's prejudices, and for that, I am deeply ashamed. Tears burned my eyes. Howard had always been a quiet presence in the family, but I had never known he felt this way. Therefore, Mr. Harrison Reed, I, Howard Chen, hereby announce my retirement as CEO of Chin Global Holdings, effective immediately. I recommend Amanda Chen as my successor, subject to board approval, which Gerald's majority share will ensure. The room erupted into chaos. Margaret shot up from her seat, her face contorted with rage. This is outrageous. Richard knocked over a chair. She can't run both companies. Actually, I said, my voice calm, I can. My management team has been prepared for this transition for 6 months. My consulting firm will continue to run efficiently while I focus on Chin Global Holdings. Tom turned to me, stunned. You knew? I met his gaze evenly. The day after my grandfather died, I received a letter explaining everything. He wanted me to wait, to let the truth come out on its own, to see who in this family would show their true colors. Margaret straightened her blazer with a forced sense of composure. This isn't over, she hissed. We'll fight this in court. For the first time, Mr. Harrison smiled. You can try, Mrs. Chen, he said, but I have spent the last 20 years documenting everything, every insult, every attempt to undermine Amanda, every discriminatory remark, witnessed, signed, and ready to be made public record. Do you really want that? She froze. Additionally, he went on, I have records of questionable financial transactions made by Richard through company accounts over the past 5 years. Richard paled. Those were approved expenses. Luxury cars, personal vacation homes. I doubt the IRS will agree. A heavy silence filled the room. Then, Tom stepped forward, his voice steady for the first time in years. Enough, Mom. Richard, It's over. Amanda has earned this. You're taking her side, Richard spat, after everything we've done for you? Tom's expression was resolute. For the first time in our marriage, he said, I'm doing what I should have done years ago, standing by my wife. Margaret grabbed her bag, seething. I won't forget this betrayal. She stormed out, Richard close behind. When they were gone, Tom turned to me. I'm so sorry, Amanda. I knew bits and pieces, but I never. I held up a hand. We'll talk later. Right now, I have a company to run, too, actually. Mr. Harrison closed his briefcase. Everything is in order, Mrs. Chen. The board meeting is set for tomorrow morning. Your grandfather believed you would face this moment with grace and strength. I see he was right. After they left, I turned to the framed photo of my grandfather on my desk. His wise eyes seemed to twinkle with pride. Tom lingered by the door. What happens now? I picked up the transfer papers Margaret had brought, fed them into the shredder, and watched as they turned to confetti. Now, I said, a small smile forming, now we see who in this family is strong enough to accept change. The next morning, I adjusted my suit jacket, the weight of the moment settling over me. Are you ready? Tom asked from the doorway. I picked up my briefcase. I've been ready for 6 months, I said. The real question is, are you ready for what's about to happen to your family? Tom stepped forward, taking my hand. They're not just my family anymore. We are a family, and I'm done choosing the wrong side. The drive to Chen Global Holdings was tense. Security had already been informed of the leadership change. As we pulled into the executive parking lot, I spotted Richard's car. He's not going to make this easy, Tom murmured. I smiled. Good. I stepped out of the car, my heels clicking against the pavement. I didn't build my own company by taking the easy path. The boardroom was full when we arrived, 12 board members, all men over 60, sitting around a massive mahogany table. Richard and my mother-in-law sat at one end, while Howard Chen, my father-in-law, sat quietly at the other. Mr. Harrison was already there, documents spread before him. You can't seriously be considering this, my mother-in-law was saying as we walked in. She'll destroy everything we've built, everything you built. Howard's quiet voice cut through the room. It was the first time I had ever heard him speak up against his wife. Margaret, it's time for the truth. We almost lost everything 20 years ago because of my poor decisions. Gerald Chen saved us, and now, his granddaughter will save us again. Howard, she gasped, her voice trembling. No, Margaret, he said, standing up and addressing the board. I've been silent for too long. He cleared his throat. Gentlemen, I fully support Amanda Chen as the new CEO of this company. She has proven herself, not just as a successful business owner, but as someone who understands the modern market in ways we have failed to grasp. Richard slammed his hand on the table. This is insane. She's not even a real Chen. Actually, Mr. Harrison interjected, according to these documents, she has more right to the Chen name than you do. Richard, would you like me to explain why? Richard's face went pale, knowing exactly what those documents would reveal about his own questionable dealings. The board chairman cleared his throat, cutting through the tension. We've reviewed the ownership documents and Howard's recommendation. Given Gerald Chen's majority share and his explicit wishes, combined with Mrs. Chen's proven track record in the tech sector, I believe we should proceed with the vote. My mother-in-law stood up, her eyes blazing. If you do this, you'll regret it. I know things about this company, about all of you. Mom, Tom interrupted, his voice calm but firm. Stop, don't make this worse. Worse? She laughed, a manic edge to her tone. Your wife is stealing our company. No, I spoke up, my voice steady and unwavering. I'm saving it, again. Would you like to see the company's current financial reports, the ones Richard has been hiding from the board? Richard jumped to his feet, shouting, You can't prove anything. Actually, Howard said, pulling out a USB drive from his briefcase. I can. I've been gathering evidence for months. Did you really think I wouldn't notice the money you were funneling into your private accounts? The board chairman's face darkened. What money? For the next hour, the truth came out. Richard had been embezzling funds, hiding losses, and falsifying reports. My mother-in-law had known but kept quiet, using the information to manipulate and blackmail her way into more control. When the vote came, it was unanimous. I was named CEO of Chen Global Holdings, effective immediately. One of the board members spoke up, his voice laced with disgust. "Your first act should be calling the authorities." I shook my head, my decision already made. "No," I said firmly, "my first act will be offering Richard and his mother a choice." Everyone turned to look at me. Option 1, you both resign quietly, sign non-disclosure agreements. I don't pursue criminal charges for the embezzlement. You'll retain your personal shares but have no operational control. And option 2? Richard asked, his voice shaking. I turn everything over to the FBI. Every transaction, every hidden account, every piece of evidence Howard and my grandfather collected. Your choice. My mother-in-law's carefully maintained facade finally cracked. "You would show mercy after everything?" she hissed. "I'm not doing it for you," I replied, my gaze unflinching. "I'm doing it for this company, its employees, and its legacy. A public scandal helps no one." They took option 1, of course. Richard and my mother-in-law left the building that day, never to return. The press release simply stated that they had chosen to pursue other opportunities. 1 year later. Over the next year, I reorganized both companies, merging my tech consulting firm's innovation with Chin Global's vast resources. The results spoke for themselves. Profits doubled. Employee satisfaction soared. The board's initial skepticism had turned into wholehearted support. Tom found his own path, too. He started a charitable foundation dedicated to helping immigrant entrepreneurs, a way of making amends for his family's past actions. Howard became one of my closest advisors. His quiet wisdom helped me navigate the complexities of running a major corporation. He and Tom rebuilt their relationship, not on fear, but on truth. As for my mother-in-law, she moved to Florida, where she now tells anyone who will listen that she retired early to enjoy the sunshine. Richard, humbled by his fall from grace, took a job with a small firm in another state, far away from the life he had once known. And me? I kept my grandfather's photo on my desk, both at the office and at home. His final gift wasn't just the company. It was the chance to prove that success doesn't come from family names or connections, but from hard work, integrity, and the courage to stand up for what's right. Last week, as I sat in my grandfather's old office, my office now, Tom brought our daughter by after school. She's 7 and already shows the same determination I had at her age. "Mommy," she asked, looking around at the big office, "will I run the company someday?" I smiled, thinking of my grandfather's words. "True respect comes from what you build yourself." "That's up to you, sweetheart," I told her. "You can run this company, start your own, or do anything else you dream of. The most important thing is to do it your way, with integrity and strength." She nodded solemnly, then brightened. "Like you did." "Yes," I said, hugging her close, "exactly like that." After they left, I looked out over the city skyline, reflecting on how much had changed in just 1 year. Sometimes, the hardest battles aren't fought in boardrooms or with lawyers, but within families, where love and duty clash with truth and justice. But in the end, the truth always comes out. And when it does, you find out who really deserves to be called family.